In the dusty village of Ratta Dhotran near Gujarnwala, Pakistan, where a narrow lane twisted between crumbled brick homes and the mosque echo the calls of prayer, of Islamic prayer, a strong, unimaginable cruelty descent upon the quiet Christian family there who was living since so long. It was 1993. An 11-year-old Salamat Masih, a child of humble means and the tender age, because the center of Pakistan, the most tragic blasphemy cases. A case that shocked the world's conscience and exposed the deadly weaponization of faith. Slamat was the youngest in the Christian family of laborers and a shy, soft, spoken boy who loved playing with the marbles and helping his uncle Manzoor in a green field. His hand bore calluses from the lifting, bucket, not a pen. He could not read or write. He was illiterate, minor word. But none of this mattered when the false blasphemy accusation came. No one is there to help you to save your life. It began with the scribed message on the wall of the village mosque, allegedly defaming Islamic prophet Muhammad, an unimaginable act in the Pakistan deeply religious society. Before anyone could question the absurdity of it, a whisper campaign erupted like um, a wildfire. Salamat Masih has blasphemed. Salamat ne tohine rasalat kar di hai. Soon, it was not just Islam. His uncles, Manzoor Masih, Rahmat Masih, were accused as well with him. The three were arrested under Section 295C of Pakistan Penal Code, the notorious blasphemy law that mandate death penalty for insult against the Islamic Prophet Muhammad. So, despite Islamic age uh, and illiteracy, local police filed, registered, and then FIR, and then a mob gathered, threatened, spread, and hatred brewed. So not just against the accused, but against every Christian in the village. The Christian community was shattered. Fear rippled through their neighborhoods. Many fled from their houses, and some converted under the great pressure by Islamists. Meanwhile, Slamat and his uncle were imprisoned for months. They sat in narrow dark cells, praying for the miracle, or at least for the world to notice this brutality. International outrage began. A stir human rights organization raised their voices, highlighting the absurdity of the case. How could an illiterate child write Arabic curses on a mosque wall? Why would he do such a thing in a country where even a rumor of blasphemy can lead to lynching? The answer, of course, was that he did not. The case had likely been fabricated by villagers who harbor resentment against the Christian or who sought to drive them out of that area. In February 1995, the case reached a turning point when the Lahore High Court granted bail to the accused, a glimmer of hope in any other hopeless order. But hatred does not need a courtroom verdict to act. On April 5, 1995, outside the court building in Lahore, as three emerged after the hearing, a gunfire ripped through the air. A Muslim gunman shouting religious slogans like Allahu Akbar opened the fire. Manzoor Masih fell on the ground, fatally wounded. Slamat was shot in his uh, right leg, I think right leg. Rehmat narrowly escaped. The gunman was caught, but the damage was irreversible. Manzoor who had stood firm in his innocence, died. Slamat, just 13 years at that time, was left with the shattered leg and the deeper, invisible wound. One that came from being hunted for crime he did not even understand. Despite the attack, the legal process uh, straggled on. Salamat and Rehmat were uh, tried in the Lahore High Court. Miraculously, the judges, under the enormous pressure, acquitted them in 1995. The court declared them the evidence, the inconclusive and the contradictory, and the affirmed that Slamat was too young and uneducated to commit such an act. But the victory in the court did not mean safety in a life. Even after their release, death threat continued. Extremist clerics demanded that Gustav Hinaviki acts as a blasphemer to be executed. Religious parties held rallies declaring that the court had betrayed Islam. But that was not a truth. For the first time, Slavat began to understand the price of his birth, Christian in an Islamic republic where minority rights often disappear in the shadows of religious extremism. Fearing for their lives, Slamat and Rehmat fled Pakistan eventually with the help from international human rights groups. They found asylum in Germany, far from the village, the mosque, and wall that had nearly cost them their lives. But they carried with them the memories of Manzoor, who never saw a freedom. Slavic story became a symbol, a tragic reflection of how blasphemy laws in Pakistan used not to protect faith, but to persecute Christians and the innocent people there. His case was cited by global organizations such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch as evidence of how such laws are manipulated to the settle personal score, inciting more violence and intimidate minorities. In later interviews, Lamak spoke softly of his ordeal. I do not know what blasphemy meant. He said, I only know I was in prison. I only knew that my uncle was dead. Received later. The trauma still lingered. Today, Slamat lives in obscurity in Europe. He avoids the public attention not because he is afraid, but because the scar run deep. He lost his country, his childhood, and his uncle, not to the war or the disease, but to hatred disguised as a piety. Back in Pakistan, blasphemy accusation continued to rise. Christian families, Hindus, and even Muslims have faced lynching, false blasphemy charges, and vigilant justice. Islam Tusi may no longer make headlines, but this story remains a chilling reminder what happened when law meant to honor faith or twist it into the tool of oppression and the terror. He was just a boy. He could not read or write, but in the eyes of his accuser, he was guilty of being different, and that was enough.